It's interesting.
I know, yeah. Doesn't this feel so much more natural?
Yeah, way more than like having somebody just stand in front of you and like, okay, speak.
Yeah, I know, yeah. This is the way I like to do it. You know, it's more of a casual conversation than anything.
Exactly, more real.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm Minju, and this is Chris Krammer.
Yep.
Yeah, and with these awesome mics, we don't have to shout. It's just
Totally.
everything. Yeah, just try not to like, I don't know, cough or anything either.
Cool, I can do that.
Yeah, so for people who may or may not know us, I'm a personal trainer and I operate a personal training studio here called Crux Fitness. And Chris Krammer here, he happens to be an awesome physiotherapist that also works on some of the patients, clients here at the gym. And I find that it's probably a good idea to kind of talk about exactly how you work with your clients and what type of stuff you focus on, and what kind of modality that you use, what kind of treatment that you use, and what can people expect. Because one of the things that I find, at least in my experience of talking to a lot of friends or clients, is that even though physio is such a science-based thing that has been around for a long time, but a lot of people are skeptics.
Totally.
Right? I think it's because of there's like, I mean, obviously there are good physios, bad physios, but all it takes is like a few bad ones or people not being patient enough to kind of get that reputation, right?
Changes your perception.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to first of all, let you introduce yourself. And then we'll get into, some of those questions. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah, I'm Chris. I've been a physio for 3 years now. I got into it initially when I hurt myself a bunch of times doing more extreme sports, snowboarding, powerlifting, etc. Trying to get stronger for that and trying to work my way around injury. I've seen all the typical physios and I got a little ways, but it didn't fully get me where I was trying to go. So I ended up looking into it for myself and finding some really interesting techniques that I use now.
Okay, yeah, so that's actually really interesting because basically you were that client that was like, yeah, I don't think this shit works. And then let me look into it. So I guess the difference is that you actually spend the time to do your research and really get into the weeds, so to speak. Right. All right, cool. Yeah, and then what happened next?
I found developing like a very client-centered approach. So refer to them as a client rather than a patient because they have just as much power in the interaction. It's a teamwork relationship much more than it is like, oh, I'm going to just do stuff to you. Because as soon as you make it passive and you take away their own power, they're not learning how to take care of themselves effectively. So I see a lot of what I do more as education than anything else. So like I can use manual therapy techniques, but I'll still be teaching you how to do them for yourself so that you can get the same benefit when I'm not around and basically upkeep yourself so that the benefits from the treatment last. On top of the fact that you'll have a better understanding of how your own body works and why certain movements feel good, why others don't. Similarly, like once we've taught your body how it's supposed to move more effectively, we can give you exercises that reinforce that so that you're not just like coming to physio, doing half an hour's worth of work and then forgetting about it for the rest of the week. You'll always be left with something actionable to work on.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I guess that's a really good start because that was kind of what we're going to be addressing here today anyways, right? So can you give us like a concrete example of what that looks like?
Yeah, so like let's say somebody comes in with back pain and we do our assessment, we figure out that perhaps they're not moving effectively, so their back is getting overloaded or it's even underloaded and the brain perceives a risk. It will create a pain signal so that you avoid the area of risk. The pain itself isn't related to any of the structural issues. So in this case, we'd educate, be like, okay, we need to get you moving here effectively so we can strengthen this better. And then from there, you're gonna feel much better moving and you'll know why you had the pain, not just that you had it and now it's gone. And I can do this through a whole bunch of different methods depending on the person.
Gotcha. Yeah, so what would like I guess traditional physio or the ones that you're like, oh man, this doesn't work. How would somebody like that, how's the usual way of approaching a situation like that?
Some of the older model of physio, because it is such a young profession, would get you in the door, stick you on a TENS machine, which will stimulate the muscles. It'll feel like it's doing something, but it's not really addressing why you might actually have developed that pain or what it means for your life. So the way I break from that is talking to the person quite a bit, figure out what their history is. Like if they're a power lifter, it's way different than if you're a snowboarder or if you're a jiu-jitsu guy. Those are different demands on the body. The body might respond with like the same pain technically in one area, but why it's there could be totally different for those 3 different people.
Oh yeah, nice. Because that is actually one of the biggest complaints from, well, I guess not complaints, but concerns from a lot of the clients that I talk to. Right, they'll be like, yeah,
Totally.
I've been to physio. I feel like it's a waste of time. They poke me here and there, or do this and do that. Leave me there alone for like 10 minutes, and then tell me to come back later. I don't even know if it did anything, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds like your approach, as you're saying, empowerment.
Yep.
And education.
Exactly.
Right.
Make it about the person because they're really the one that they care about. It's not about how much I know.
Yeah.
It's not about like whatever else the standards are. Like, of course, we've got guidelines and like general approaches that you can use, but you always build it out and make it applicable to the person. The right exercise might be the wrong one if they're never going to do it. So you find ways to get them doing what they need to be doing and showing them how they can do it and have it feel good.
Gotcha. Yeah. So because that actually brings to a second type of concern that a lot of people have would be like, how long does it take? Because people are impatient, right?
Exactly.
I think that is the root cause of a lot of the lingering issues, or of getting treatment and not having the and see slight improvements and then going backwards and regress. I think it's because of being impatient, right? So what would be a typical cycle, like how long do you have to work with that person? What can they expect in that relationship?
Like often comes down to the person. I've seen some pretty incredible results where like if you can figure out what their body's looking for and then give their body that information, you can see pretty instant changes. Like within one session, I've solved some long standing problems for people. Other times it takes a little bit more of detailing out the puzzle, and as you find or solve one piece, you find another one that becomes relevant. You're like, okay, we're working backwards through your history a little bit here, but the more I get to know you, the more effective we can work. And then eventually it shouldn't take more than a month for most things. And then if you come back with another problem, sweet, we've got new things to work with. We can teach you different ways to handle the new stuff that comes up. So for some people, they'll be seeing me for the rest of their life, but not in a negative way. It'll be like a check-in, an educational thing. Just like you would keep working with a personal trainer, you can keep working with a physiotherapist as well. And as long as it stays in that relationship of like, we're building you up, we're teaching you about yourself, and you're not becoming reliant on me, that can be really useful. But for basic stuff, like estimate a month just to like fully get things done, because the manual therapy stuff can provide some pretty instant symptom relief and open the body up to making changes. And then from there, we lock those changes in with exercise. And that takes like the time exercise takes to improve the body.
Gotcha. Yeah. So can you also describe what manual,
Totally.
What did you call it? Manipulation or whatever?
So manual therapy is a very broad category. It can range from just taking joints through range of motion or doing typical massage type stuff. Or like chiropractors technically do manual therapy when they adjust a joint and you feel that pop or cavitation sound. So I take a much different approach. I work with reflexes quite often. So oftentimes the body gets under so much stress that it just finds ways to get you through that stress, but it never reaches the parasympathetic state again or has trouble getting back there. So our parasympathetic is our rest and digest state where we recover. And a lot of us get stuck in the sympathetic, which is fight or flight, defend, etc. And then from there, the body just continually moves down the same habits, essentially. So I work to break those habits by stimulating different reflexes.
Okay, yeah. So basically you're saying that because of certain injuries or whatever, your body is constantly in like a protective state, that you're all tense and everything. So those areas never get the relaxation that it needs to recover, right? So we're gonna try to break that.
Totally.
So and get it into the relaxation state, which you go,
Exactly. Right. The easiest way to do that is always working with the breathing. The more oxygen that your body has available, the more like powerful it's going to feel, the more at rest it's going to be. And then it begins to perceive like, okay, we've got a full breath now, we're safe, we can begin to move the way we used to move. If you think back to times you've been in pain, it's always like, okay, I'm going to bring my limb close to me and then I'm going to hold it tight. And it's good for protection in the immediate moment. It's a very useful aspect of the body, but it's when we get stuck there and then try and go about our day otherwise that we run into problems where it's like, I should be able to reach here or I should be able to tie my shoe, but my back really just wants to stay tight and not let me get there. And oftentimes that comes with like a holding of the breath or like a cheating of the movement. So you maybe don't move through your back, you bring your foot up to meet you, and then you just develop all these like compensation patterns around whatever your original injury was. And I work to find out what those patterns are, change those, teach you about them so that you can recognize them yourself. And then that way, when you feel it coming back again, you can preempt it. You're like, okay, Chris showed me this reflex in this exercise. I'll do those two things. Sweet, my back pain's gone. I can go train hard again. And then if it keeps lingering, then we can dig into like why it might be doing that or find other reasons, other ways to address it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so because it sounds like you're actually putting quite a bit of accountability on the client themselves, right?
Exactly.
And I think some of the people, just because they're going through a therapist, then they feel like the therapist should be working magic and just make all the issues go away.
Totally.
Right? So, which begs a good question, right?
Yep.
It doesn't sound like everybody is going to be an ideal client to work with you. So what tends to be the type of people that you know can actually be held accountable and put in the right effort and to actually get the type of results that they want.
Totally. People who are really good learners, they're invested in learning about themselves. They recognize the value of healthcare, and more importantly, taking control of it for themselves is a really big one. Because I can teach for days, but if you're not going to retain any of that, then it's like you'll keep coming back, you'll feel frustrated, and it's the missing piece is owning it for yourself. Like I can do all sorts of magical stuff or magical feeling stuff to change your symptoms, but unless you understand why that's happening and that you can do it for yourself, it'll stick for a little while, you'll feel really good, but unless you continue on with that and actually change your life around the injury or like change how you've approached things, then nothing really makes a difference. So anybody like who's into training or is seeking higher performance, like getting the most out of stuff rather than just looking for quick fixes is much more my ideal client.
Gotcha. All right. And do you find that the age makes a difference at all?
Nope.
No?
I've had young kids, like as the young as 13, who absolutely crushed it. They're like super receptive to it. They've often got less baggage to work around. They're like, my knee hurts, help me. I'm like, sweet, I will help you with your knee, and you'll get that immediate like motivation to keep it that way. But I've also worked with older adults, like anywhere from like the 60, 70, even 80 range, who become absolute ass kickers where they love it. They're like, this is what I've been looking for from treatment. Doctors never listened to me before this. You're finally understanding where I'm coming at and like treating me like a person instead of a patient. And then from there, they become absolute champions too.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, doctors, do better, be better.
There's lots of great doctors, but lots are just a little too quick.
That is true.
Yeah,
The good
don't
doctors
throw them
out
all
there,
under the bus.
all the good doctors out there who treat their patients like individual human beings, we salute you. But the other ones, be better.
Exactly.
Oh man, I hope we don't get too much heat for this, man.
I don't think so. I think lots of doctors would agree.
Oh, that's true.
In any people-facing profession, there's going to be people who really invest in who they're working with, and then others who invest in what they're doing. And it's that mixture of like, well, you've got to care about what you do and hold yourself to a high standard, but you absolutely have to care most about the person in front of you and how to work best with them.
Right, nice. Yeah, so I think that was a really good, informative introduction to the type of approach that you take in working with patients.
Totally.
And we also address some of the major concerns from a lot of people, right? So let's talk about how can people reach you? I mean, how can people start to work with you?
Yep. I believe I'm on the Crux website. I think it's under the physiotherapy headline. So that'll take you to a booking link. That takes you to my booking page. And then from there, I'm available at Crux currently on Saturday mornings from 7:30 to 11:30. And then I'll open up that availability as I start to get busier again as well. You can also reach me via cell phone. Shoot me a text with who you are, what you're looking for at 604-445-7014 or email at krammerphysiotherapy@gmail.com.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to have all that information displayed in whatever the descriptions, comments or whatever.
And I'm around the gym a bunch too. So like just come grab me, talk to me.
Just come and say hi, right? I mean, we are always welcome. We always welcome people to come in, do some talk to the physiotherapist, come for a workout. We even run an MMA fitness class here where you learn how to punch and kick and take downs and stuff. You know? So, because again, I believe we all need to use various different tools to keep our bodies healthy and perform at a high level.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, otherwise life is not fun, you know?
Yep. Yeah, you can even conceptualize physio and how I approach it as being another like member in your corner, to use the martial arts analogy. Like you got to keep the guy who keeps you going. You get the guy who teaches you your grappling, your striking, etc. And everybody works together to keep that person working.
Nice, awesome, man. Thank you, Chris. I love that how you came from the other perspective as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the person that questions like, hey, there's got to be a better way. And then you did extreme sports, you powerlift.
Exactly.
And then you are currently training jiu-jitsu as well.
Yep.
Right. So because one of the things me and my martial arts buddies always talk about is we would never work with a physio or a chiro, for that matter, who doesn't train.
Yeah.
Because again, they're not gonna understand the demands that we have.
Totally. Having like a first-hand experience with it is so much more valuable in terms of like, okay, I fully understand what the body's under here, why you might have a pain in a certain spot. So
Yeah, love that. So yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up right now.
Right on.
We're gonna be putting on more videos like these,
Yep.
and then for the subsequent videos, we'll go into more focused topics.
Totally.
Right, and so this way,
It'll
hopefully,
be a fun one to dive down.
yeah, some of these free contents can help people out because that's what we're all about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome, man. Good. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.